What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Cajun Libertarian Live. I am your host, the Cajun Libertarian. Awesome to be here again with you tonight. Very, very busy schedule, but I'm absolutely 100% proud to be here. Thank you so much for just hanging out and supporting each other, right? I mean, it's incredible. So, you can go to the www.cajunlibertarian.com and purchase some stuff, shirts, help us fundraise for the Tunica event, all that stuff. I've got the PayPal account, Stripe account, all that. We beat that dead horse a bunch. Libertarian Party Seafood Caucus had a bunch of fun in there today. Please join. Cajun and Eskimo show coming Sunday on Muddied Waters Media. I think that's about it, other than the fact that we have Randall Daniel on, Kentucky Libertarian Party State Chair. He will be with us right after this in Clubhouse. So, with that being said, let's bring him on. Randall, what's up?
Not a whole lot, Cajun. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on, man. I know you're very busy, but you're doing a lot of awesome things. So, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Happy to be here, man. And as far as awesome things go, I'm just doing what I can for the party when I can. So, we have no alternative.
Right. And we talked about that before. It's really I say this all the time, all gas, no brake, and you're really walking that out. So that's pretty awesome. Why don't you tell us that story real quick that you just told me in Messenger?
That I was so we got a party member who lives nearby me. I grew up with him. I didn't even know he was a libertarian. He just helped me when my car would break down or do things for me. And as I got involved with the party, I found out, hey, not only is he a libertarian, but he was wanting to run for state rep. So he might do that sometime. But this past week, I've been watching his place for him, and getting to meet his dog, his animals, all that. But just yesterday, I sent out, close to 100 texts for people in the Mises Caucus and the party, trying to get them involved, trying to get them grassroots. Helping this guy at his place, and then also, doing other errands for people in the party. Took a guy to the hospital so he could have a surgery that he had scheduled and needed a ride for. It's just, people do stuff like that in the party. We help our own. We do what we can when we can. We talk a big game about taking, privatization of charity and doing those things. If we're not going to be the community, if we're not going to be the world that we want to see, it's just not going to occur.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this all the time here, being grassroots, being boots on the ground, talking to people on a one-to-one basis, being there for them. I mean, that's awesome. That's the way we win, right? I mean, that's the template for winning. What you're talking about right now is being there and being engaged, being involved in the community, being known. And man, that's awesome.
Well, I hope to do a lot more of it. As I get older and I get my feet better under me, I hope that my arms reach further and further and can help more people. I just see a lot of pain in the world, and I just want to do what I can to help correct what I can.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that big time. That's awesome. We talked a little bit before we got on here about was catfish eligible for the seafood caucus?
Yeah,
And
I mean, what is seafood? If it comes from a river, if it comes from a pond, is it a sea?
right. And so, like I said, Eskimo and I deliberated behind the scenes and decided that any aquatic life would qualify for the caucus. So you're good with the freshwater catfish, no question.
So that's inclusive of frog legs and turtle soup.
Yes, and even more so, like I told you back a few minutes ago, but you didn't mention turtle soup, but both delicacies more than they are just seafood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love frog legs, big time. And so when you cook your quote unquote seafood, how do you like that cooked? You gonna do it just a little bit of salt, maybe just barely any seasoning, or are you gonna cook that bad boy up?
So I grew up with a family that's got pretty much like an English spice palette, just salt and pepper. But as I've gotten older and kind of 10 years living on my own, I'll be 28 next week. I've just been learning more and more about spices. I love Indian food. I love, pretty much anything and everything with a little bit of a kick to it. Reagan, my girlfriend, she hates cardamom pods. She likes the flavor of cardamom, but I'm not gonna like grind up all the seeds. I just throw a couple in there, and it's a little bit of a hand grenade if you get one in your bite or not.
Yes, indeed. I
Yeah,
love it.
but yeah, I'd season or eat it just straight. Salt, pepper's fine. A little cornmeal on catfish is good. But also you get something, and just I'll take it any way I can get it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Love it. I'm a huge food lover. Absolutely love it all. We just like to, poke fun back and forth and all that. Um, but it's always interesting, to see how people prefer their food in general all over the country because we have such differing palates. And I think the food fight stuff is a bunch of fun. The other fighting stuff, I don't know that that's so much fun. There's been a lot of internet Twitter nonsense and Facebook fighting and all that within the party. Um, I don't have a whole lot of time for that. Like I told you, I just don't know enough about it. So if you would please, really, to me first, explain what happened with the patches with the Vax card stuff, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. So, for a little bit of a starters, right? We've got a pretty good communications team here in Kentucky. They took over right after I got elected chair this past March, and we've seen our social media presence just skyrocket, which has brought us more members, more activists. So it's been a great boon overall to have those people helping and assisting. But every once in a while, they toss something out there, they didn't think much of it, and it catches on. It's like people, flicking cigarette butts out of a car window, right? You really shouldn't do it. Sometimes you do it, but
Right.
that's how wildfires get started. And it definitely put a fire in the conversation. That particular tweet, a lot of people say it was minimalizing of the Holocaust or in reference to the Holocaust. The intent of the volunteer who made it was to kind of, show the slippery slope of how things escalate, and he's still helping out and he's doing a great job overall. We've gone from having like 2,000 or less followers on Twitter to we broke 9,000 today. So
Wow.
I think Texas is the only state affiliate that has us beat on Twitter reach. So, but yeah, the short of it was that it did offend a local rabbi here in Kentucky, and that rabbi,
Mm.
he's very adamant about the language that is used surrounding his community. And he took it very personally because he had seen similar usage of language by our party and other parties. And it's kind of that man's, like it's his mission, right? That he's assigned himself is to make sure that the conversation shifts from casual use of a Holocaust analogy or reference, because he believes that it is inherently anti Semitic to do so, as he says it minimalizes the Holocaust. Um, I don't quite get that leap. I think that, no one group of people have monopoly on any particular topic of conversation. I think that, while it was horrific, the atrocities that, the Jewish people suffered during that, during the Holocaust, there were several other communities that were affected. And yes, that tweet did directly reference the plight of the Jewish people during that situation. But we shouldn't put something just so far on a shelf that you're not allowed to talk about it. Like, it's a very difficult subject. I can see why the rabbi got upset, but I don't believe his definition of anti-Semitic is the same one that I'm used to colloquially. He thinks that anything that references that doesn't, hold it to the highest of standard is anti-Semitic. And I think that that's a really broad definition because it really limits your ability to reference historic events.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a great descriptive response to that question. I honestly was not expecting anything at all because I didn't even know there was a rabbi upset in the situation. I just know it very superficially, right?
Yeah,
Just from the surface. From the surface, from my point of view, it feels like an honest mistake. I don't know that I would call it anti-Semitic, but then again, I'm not very familiar with that community, so I really just can't speak to that. But on the
yeah.
surface, it doesn't feel that way to me. It does feel very disingenuous to that plight, and that I'll go along with. But yeah, I didn't even know there was it went deeper than that. Again, I'm very detached from a lot of this controversy
Well,
with everybody.
there's a couple more layers, honestly. There are people from the Libertarian Party that were upset on both sides. Some people that were Jewish that were upset that the tweet occurred. Some people that were Jewish in the party that were grateful for the tweet. David Fitt, he ended
Yeah,
up
fight.
hosting a debate between Dave Smith and Rabbi Litvin Shlomo.
Oh man, how did David
There's a
happen?
debate about whether or not the tweet was or was not anti-Semitic, and I want to thank Dave Smith for championing that and standing up for LPKY and our volunteers. I mean, at the end of the day, volunteers are going to put things out there, and I'm sure that people, regardless of caucus, have experienced when volunteers put out something controversial.
Yeah.
No one in our party, no group within our party is immune to controversial tweets, right?
No, no, not at
Yeah.
all.
And some good that did occur from it is that the COVID passport system, which the tweet was trying to highlight the absurdity of, that was gaining a lot of momentum. It was gaining a lot of popularity, and I believe that the Overton window was actually shifted by that volunteer's actions. It sparked a debate not only in our movement but all across media, and it even reached, Forbes did an article on it, the Jerusalem
Oh,
Post
wow.
did an article on it, and there was even a protest over in Israel where people were holding up banners that were, showing, like a viral logo followed by a passport logo equals numbers on arm. So
Hmm.
they were really, you know, I think that the net was positive. It opened up a lot of conversations. It's not my personal strategy to go out there and be that bombastic, but
Right.
you can tell the difference, right? The LPKY social media, over 9,000 followers. I think I have 14. So I don't tweet. I'm not a big social media guy. I try to stay off of screens as much as I can due to my eyesight. Screens particularly, they irritate my eyes. I have pigmentary glaucoma. So, I'm not a huge social media guy, but I will always respond to messages. But I just don't, get into a lot of like Twitter fights.
So that's right. We talked earlier about the fact that you deal with glaucoma. How long you been have that going on?
Well, I found out when I went to go get my driver's license. I had always been told that I had ADHD ever since I was a little kid. They put me on Ritalin. They put me in, remedial classes some back in elementary school. And then, based on where I sat in the classroom would determine how well I did in the class. And if they actually tested me on pen and paper instead of an overhead projector, like as I mentioned, screens and like light bothers my eyes a lot. So I don't like reading books or information over a screen. I can't stand overhead projectors. It's so difficult for me to learn off of those. But if you give me like a paper text, like paper text, I can do so much better. And so, now, depending on just the teacher, I would either be in accelerated courses or remedial courses, and it had more to do with my ability to read, like physically read, not my ability to
Yeah, yeah,
comprehend
yeah,
read.
yeah. Right.
But I had a rough time in school with all of that, and then I go to take my driver's exam, and they're like, "Hey, can you see can you see the stoplight?" And I'm like, "Which one?" There's two, because they like did this digitized vision test, and it was just awful for me. I'm like, which one? And they're like, oh, our thing must be not calibrated right. So they tinker on it, and then they're like, is it any better now? And I'm like, not really, but I can squint and correct it. And then the lady, after having spent like 5 minutes working on her machines, like, you need glasses.
Oh wow.
So I ended up going and getting glasses, and they said, "Oh, you got a mild astigmatism." And over the 12 years since first getting glasses, it's gone from I have a very acute, very mild astigmatism to now I've got a pretty severe astigmatism with slight magnification. But I actually had to retake my vision exam just last week to get my license back for it got suspended for failure to collect sales tax.
Oh my God.
But it was actually pretty difficult. Like I was nervous because sometimes my vision does get foggy, it gets hazy. I'll see double or something if my glasses are out of date, and these ones are only about a year old. But it was a little difficult passing the test. I
Yeah.
passed. The government says I'm competent to operate a vehicle, so I guess that's the threshold by which we determine it. So I'm gonna go get milk.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're not supposed to have permission to do that, right? So, but
Absolutely, yeah.
we do have somewhat of a small but tight community. I feel like it's probably pretty large, but in comparison to the general public, it's probably pretty small. But I have two in-laws that are completely blind from glaucoma, and had a niece that has had several surgeries. Um, a brother-in-law that's dealing with it on a pretty significant level, and so that runs all through my in-laws. So I'm going to obviously be empathetic to that situation right there very
Mhm.
immediately. And it's crazy to me that while you're dealing with all that, they also hit you with the government freaking overreach too, which doesn't surprise me, but you would think, good Lord. And then one of your big things about that government overreach is eminent domain and property rights, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So, property rights issues, eminent domain is what really sparked my interest in getting active in politics, right? So, like, philosophically, I've always been a libertarian, but here in Kentucky, you actually have to register with a party. And here in my local county, there's not an elected anything other than Republicans. So if you want to vote, you don't vote in the general election, you vote in the Republican primary. So for the first several years of my adult life, I was registered Republican out of necessity if I wanted to even be able to cast a ballot. But as I saw more and more eminent domain and such going on in my county, my dad had to fight off against a municipal government one county over, which to me just seems absolutely absurd because if they're not hierarchically above you and they're a lateral entity, they are a foreign government to you, right? They're not above you, they're just over there, right? So like Louisiana is foreign to me here in Kentucky, right?
Right.
But the United States federal government is not foreign to me, right? So when Louisville Water, which is super socialized and subsidized by the Louisville government and such, when they try to eminent domain some land of my dad, it got me mad. My family's got a long history in the state, and I never really knew just how far back we went until getting involved with the party, and then realizing even like how it ties into like my eye issues, right? As you mentioned, glaucoma is hereditary. No one in my family, to my knowledge, has ever had it. Like I'm the first. Like I developed this all on my own. Like aren't I special?
Yeah.
But so I got to looking into like, well, like they're trying to take this ground. It's been in my family forever. I'd also kind of like to better understand my family to see, like maybe the progression of this, degenerative eye disease will be, right?
Right.
So I started looking into my family more and more, and I find out that that very same ground that I'd been, helping defend or, like getting involved in politics to help defend for 4 years, turns out it's been in my family since 1781. Since before Kentucky was a state, since before really anything was a state. That was colonial period, and so it really bothers me. And I find out that one of the most noteworthy members of my family, a guy named Walker Daniel, who was the first Attorney General of the county of Kentucky, Virginia.
Hmm.
Uh, he technically he wrote the secessionary paper requesting from the legislative body, like from the House over in Virginia for the secession of Kentucky. He's buried less than a mile from where I live now, according to death certificates.
Wow.
Like same piece of ground. Like it all comes together. Everything in life is like these series of circles. But I got more and more active after, my dad fought that battle. I hear about neighbors fighting a battle. We're right next to Fort Knox, where I live. And they've got a long history of just coming in and taking ground inch by inch, or 40,000 acres overnight. I mean, it's just constant out here as Louisville grows, as Fort Knox grows, as these foreign businesses come into my community and start using eminent domain to drive out farmers, raise property rates, raise property taxes, and literally take the ground out from under your feet. It got me livid. Um, it's I got into an argument with my judge executive. That's the executive officer of a county level here in Kentucky. He's supposed to be a good old boy Republican, limited government type. He actually retired from a company that was practicing eminent domain here in my community right before he filed for that office. So I've got the suspicion that that's pretty well connected. Your retired employee starts helping you get eminent domain through and such. But one time at a court, fiscal court, it's like a judicial. It's not actually judicial. It's executive. It's just bad naming. But he's talking about limited government, and I call him out and tell him that advocation for the annihilation of private property rights is an advocation for communism. Like without the foundation of private property, without security in the physical space you occupy, you have no security in any other capacity of your life or any ability to preserve your existence. And that is like, you want a freedom to speech? You don't have it if you don't have a place to stand. If you don't have space to occupy or air to breathe, you can't take that next step of speaking out. And so I think that having ground, having the ability to own and control that space that you occupy is the most paramount human right.
Hmm.
I'm really long-winded, and I apologize for that.
No, you're good. No, you're good. You made a very good, all around just great, because what you're doing is you're helping me segue into the thing next, because it all ties in so well. And one of the things that I believe ties in so well to this is one of the stories you were just, not just a story you were just telling me, but just like you're over, that makes sense now listening to you tell me that, of what we talked about behind the scenes. Number one, your governor is freaking terrible.
Oh,
And
yeah, he is. Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure that he has made this situation worse, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
No, I mean, I can't point to a positive result of any of his recent orders over the last, 15 months or so. Pretty much since he's taken office, I've had complaint after complaint after complaint with the man. And it's no different. Like, I didn't like his predecessor. Matt Bevin, came to my county and once again gave a speech as a good old boy Republican about limited government. And when I asked him about, eminent domain, because he talked about limited government, Matt Bevin told me to leave the country. He said that if I didn't like eminent domain, that I should leave the country as it is a constitutionally protected right of government. And so that demonstrates the Republicans out here have no bearing or understanding of the Constitution. And then my dealings with Andy Beshear proves that the Democrats don't either. I was a plaintiff in a lawsuit that a former state chairman of the Libertarian Party, his name's Chris Wiest, good guy, better lawyer. He was my lawyer on a case against Andy Beshear. We sued the governor for him closing down churches, which is a violation of the Constitution. I can get that he was afraid and his advisors was telling him to do this, that, and the other. I can't speak too well to his intents. I can only assume that that he's not like a malicious person. But it gets really hard to continue to give the benefit of the doubt to these government actors after time when they continue to erode our rights. Eventually they will find us at a breaking point where we'll be left with nothing. And I fear those days. But I've got no respect for any governor that I've been an adult under in Kentucky. Not, not, Andy Beshear, not Daddy Beshear. His governor was governor two before him. Not Matt Bevin. I'm just really tired of these people just corrupting the legacy of the people that came way far before them. We probably at this point would have been better off had Kentucky remained an independent nation, and allowed these counties to kind of govern themselves and, like that super small local government rather than building layer after layer on top of it all. Like I said, really long-winded.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it, dude.
I don't like Andy Beshear. I would do
We could
everything
tell.
within my power to see him out of office.
Yeah.
I will, if I lose my sight in the process, that's a good trade. If I give anything and everything to see this state set free, this Commonwealth.
No, you're good, man. Don't apologize for being long-winded. You're not very long-winded. It's I'm just letting you roll because it's all good information, and I love it. Anytime we get to publicly just hammer terrible politicians, yeah, I'm all game for that. So that's a lot of fun for me. I I love it. I mean, even the dude, I was it this. It was this governor you have now that you're talking about that doxed you and tried to get you arrested or something crazy like that, right?
Yeah, so he gave me a notice on my vehicle for attending church, and it was if you don't self quarantine for 2 weeks post this exposure, then you're going to be subject to arrest or some crap. He didn't do anything. It was just posturing. But the fact of the matter
Of
is
course.
that my local sheriff is supposed to be my defense against extreme executive overreach or legislative overreach from either my state or federal government, right? And my sheriff didn't do a thing, not a single thing. And he's once again supposed to be a good old boy, limited government Republican, right? And no, nothing. When Louisville's government is coming over and putting pressure on my community, nothing. When the governor himself's coming and putting pressure on our community, like threatening to lock churchgoers up, nothing. But yeah, no, this governor, he referred to me and some other plaintiffs on a few lawsuits and stuff against him as being terrorists and conflating us to the
That's
Capitol
cool.
riots. And yeah, I mean, I don't appreciate a lot of the rhetoric that a lot of the others involved in some of these lawsuits and such were using. As you and I were, like, I'm not a big social media guy.
Yeah.
I've yet to see much accomplished by me going out there and, putting, bombastic stuff. People do it a lot better than me. I'm much better at, one-on-one conversations. It
Yeah.
helped me a lot in my campaign when I ran last year, and it's helped me a lot in building up local level county parties and stuff here in Kentucky.
That's awesome. How much have you grown since when did you take office? I'm sorry. We just went right off into talking. I didn't even get to ask you a little bit about what happened prior to, like, what made you decide to run for the state chair of Kentucky and that little process right there, the big process.
Yeah, well, over about the 4 years that I've been active with the party and everything, I've kind of climbed the ladder, right? I got involved. My district party, Kentucky's breakdown is that we've got counties, right? That's like our grassroots level, followed by our congressional districts, followed by our state executive committee and such. And we have 6 congressional districts. Our state party structure is mirrored to our elections. So, like, oh, you got county level offices. Well, you've got county level party. Oh, you've got district offices. Well, you got a district party. So it's all kind of, what you're supposed to be doing based on the title that you hold. And I was in the smallest affiliated district by membership when I first got involved. That Bethany there, she's currently my district chairman or chairwoman. She's great, and she's actually the best, not me. But
The proper response.
yeah, but yeah, no, it's just I got involved over those eminent domain deals. My girlfriend Reagan, she encouraged me to get involved. I'd been complaining and complaining, and she said, "Why don't you do something?" And she's like, you talk about libertarianism, you talk about how that's like your political home. go find them. So I went to lpky.org, where we have a little map of all of our events and things like that, and I find the next Libertarian Party meeting to me, and it was my district meeting. It was I think 110-mile drive, and
Wow.
yeah, we got big districts.
Yeah.
District 2 is about 115, 120 miles in depth. And I lived at the northernmost point, and our meeting was at the southernmost point, right? So I live just south of Louisville, and then our meeting was all the way down in Bowling Green, almost to Tennessee, right? So I can see Indiana from my house. And I
Oh
had to go
wow.
basically to Tennessee to my first Libertarian Party meeting. And then our district's like twice as wide because it's shaped like a diamond, because it's gerrymandered to hell. But
Yep.
so I make that drive down there, and it's at a Barnes and Noble coffee shop. And I see like a little group of people, and they got all their like little papers and stuff. And I walk over to them, and I'm like, libertarians, and they look at me like I'm an idiot. And so they weren't the libertarians. And I kept doing that
Right.
table after table until eventually this one guy, he walks over to me and he's like, hi, I'm Chris. I'm the district chairman. It's nice to meet you. And he asked me about myself. I tell him about, my history of eminent domain and all of that. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, it sounds like what you need is a county affiliate, right? You need a political vehicle that allows you to grassroots organize, recruit candidates, run people for office, and have all of the institutional abilities that the Democrats and Republicans have used for generations to subjugate your community. Like you just need the same tools that they have, right? So here's our bylaws. Read through this. You recruit a couple of friends, spin up a party. I'm like, awesome. Right? So he sends me home with homework. I go home and I start calling up my friends, going to meetings and, like fiscal court meetings, city council meetings, Democrat meetings, Republican meetings. I go to anything and everything I can because I'm desperately trying to find friends, right? Like friends who really share those core principles and tenets with me.
Yep.
And I find a few. And I come back to Chris and I'm like, hey, Chris, I found a couple of people. And he's like, awesome. Well, you'll be our first county party. Not only was I the first in D2, but while we had county parties in other parts of the state, they'd all fallen apart since. So like that was currently the Bullitt County, Kentucky Libertarian Party is the oldest currently organized county party in my state. And my district party was Harlan Compton, the then state chairman, Chris Dillingham, the district chairman, myself, and a couple of people that weren't in any sort of like real active role. We had Robert Perry, who was a great guy. He would show up to meetings. He helped fund some of our things like fair booths, but he's got a very demanding professional career.
Right.
And, that we were just a couple of guys, right? But after I got my county party up and going, and I got a few friends in it, Chris said, hey, why don't you step up to the district party? I'm going to go take care of getting my county spun up. So then him and Joe Hunter and a couple of other guys, they ended up spinning up the Warren County party down in Bowling Green. And then I met a guy at a Louisville meeting who happened to be in the county adjacent to me. And we worked together. We spun up the county next to me, Hardin. And then Chris started spinning up the county next to him with a few guys that came to his meeting. And they got the Barron County party. And then we started going, we're trying to go county by county and connect all of the dots. And we have 120 of them here in Kentucky. And I think it's actually realistic that we can fully spin up the Libertarian Party of Kentucky, because we're not a real party. We're not fully spun up until we have boots, grassroots in every single county in the state. And for the first time in our organization's history, we have all 6 congressional districts spun up. We've got an active and solid crew in every single one of the congressional districts. And we're working on spinning up more and more county parties, getting more and more candidates prepped, do more training, do more outreach. We have an office now, right? So like we're setting up a place where we can start doing phone banking and outreach. And our party is it's phenomenally growing. I'm so excited. I kind of missed half the question there. You asked me how I became chair, and I just started talking about the grassroots stuff. But
when did you become chair?
first weekend of March. Our annual convention is March of every year. It's,
Okay.
typically,
Nice.
first, second week, depending on weather and tornadoes and what, acts of God, right? But I've only been the chairman of the Libertarian Party of Kentucky for like, less than 100 days now.
So
I'm getting right up to 100.
uh, that's funny. That's very ironic. So the what was the date that you met your guy in the coffee shop?
Uh, that's like 2017, I think, in July, sometime around then. I couldn't find him, so I sent him an email,
Four and
and
a half
every
years ago.
year, yeah, and so like every year he sends me a reminder because like apparently it pops up like reminder of the date. Somebody sent it's just a nice novelty that he reminds me of when I first joined the party. So I
No,
have a
that's
good
absolutely.
record of it because he reminds me.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's great. I think
Yeah.
that's incredible. So y'all obviously still talk all the time.
Oh yeah, no, he's a county party treasurer. That's one of the most thankless jobs in the whole organization and one of the hardest to get spun up. But Chris has been paramount, and like the stability that having local county affiliates, right? So like, let's say that every single person on the state executive committee of Kentucky got struck by lightning tomorrow, God forbid, right? Well, our districts all have a structure where they can send some people up. So like LPKY would have to be wiped out, for whatever reason, a dozen times over because we've got people, at the state level, at the district level, at the county level, and people can always come up to, as we need them. So, Chris is, he's coaching from the bench from the state party's perspective, but he's doing the real grassroots. His local party, they had a candidate come out of their county last year that I think a lot of people in our movement are pretty aware of, and that's Brad Barron. He's from Bowling Green. He joined our party. He got involved with the Warren County guys, which includes Chris, the guy who got me active with the party, and he ended up running a statewide campaign, getting there's like 84,000, shy of 90,000 something votes in Kentucky. He smashed every record we had as a party for contributions and activism, and it was just phenomenal. But it comes from those local level counties.
Yeah. Well, look, I talked to a lot of people all week, every week for now since I guess about the beginning of April or so, and it seems to be, it's always going to fluctuate a little bit, right? The details and the semantics of the situation is always going to be a little bit different, but it, every chair that I talk to, or at least almost every chair that I talk to, has got a very similar story to you in the fact that we're growing like big time, and some of y'all are less than not less than, I'm sorry, that would come out wrong. I was going to say I'm less than I'm newer to this game than y'all are, and so I'm just very fascinated the fact that as I'm coming in here, I'm watching each and every one of y'all absolutely just crush it and kill it and grow the party, and but not necessarily the party, but the liberty movement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
like you said, you didn't start off like trying to advance the Libertarian Party. What you started off doing was advancing liberty and getting pissed off about government overreach. And I think that this is our avenue. This is our easiest success to that path in deregulation and stripping away some of these tyrannical laws that you've experienced, even in a deep, well, I guess it mostly is a deep red, mine is a deep red state, but we still have some of that stuff here. It just doesn't matter where you go. That government overreach is absolutely terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, Kentucky's in a really odd spot with voter registration and whether or not you consider it, deep red or purple or what have you.
Yeah.
Louisville is blue, plain and simple. It seems like the Republican Party of Kentucky has abandoned Louisville, and that's allowed a monopoly power to kind of seed its way into controlling everything, which is just horrific, right? Like duopoly politics is terrible. Monopoly politics is even worse,
Yeah, it's
right?
real bad.
And the region that's typically considered purple is the greater Lexington area, so our sixth congressional district. And but honestly, it's actually majority registered Democrat and has been for a long time in Kentucky. It's only in recent years that that there's been more and more turnout for Republicans. My community, I guess, here in Bullitt was one of the early adopters of the straight ticket vote, unfortunately. But we've only ever had two Republican governors in our history, to my knowledge. So it's not that unusual for us to have a Democrat, even though Democrat doesn't mean what it used to here in Kentucky.
It's kind of
Though their
everywhere.
politics are still the same kind of authoritarian.
Hmm. It does seem like our labels are just shifting and they're being redefined every day. What we would consider, or what I would consider a liberal or a classical liberal, most people would not associate themselves with that, or a lot of people have the country if we're talking in a binary sense. You
Hmm.
say, okay, I got this friend, it's a classical liberal, and who you're talking to is like a, pretty conservative Republican Trump person, then
Yeah,
they're gonna be like, oh no, on average, I'm saying, stereotypically speaking, that's the response you get, and you're like, man, look, it's not the same of what you think it is. I think we're being lied to. I think we're being. There's no thinking about it. I know that for a fact.
yeah,
They're creating division that doesn't exist, and one of the best ways to do that is to make sure that the language actually devolves instead of evolves, or at
yeah.
least stays the same. And that's a problem that we have. But I think it's amazing that you're killing it over there in Kentucky. It doesn't surprise me. Like I said, it's been kind of like the going rate with us. I know there's a lot of stuff going on the internet that just doesn't really matter. Not really with y'all anymore, but just all over the place. But when we talk to people like you, Randall, and a lot of these boots on the ground, what we're finding is 100% success. You're killing it, and I love the stories, man. I really, really love the stories about you being face to face with the people, helping people out. Uh, we get that so much, and
Hey, I just got to pay back the favors that have been given to me. I may not pay them back to the same person all the time, but I've had a world of people, particularly my parents, that have really gone out and helped me in my life. And I feel it my Christian and civic and all of those duties to do all I can for others. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I've unfortunately hurt people before, and
Mhm.
thankfully nothing too serious. But regardless, I feel a calling to do something for my fellow man, and I can't just stand by and watch. You know,
I feel that. Yep, I feel that. One of the biggest, or I would say the biggest reason I got into the activism was over the lockdowns that happened everywhere else.
yeah,
I'm in Middle Mississippi. Um, I'm from Baton Rouge, but I'm in Middle Mississippi near Jackson, and we really didn't suffer that much. It
hmm,
was, a couple of weeks. That was
yeah,
basically it. I quit wearing a mask like back in January.
yeah.
And but what pissed me off was watching all the other people around the country just get their lives destroyed by this. I should stop right there. I will absolutely just go off the rails because that's what got me. It's like I'm watching these communities, and it's incredible how you're just crushing the literal citizen and expecting some sort of different result, and now you're surprised, like, oh, the economy's terrible, people are mad, like, what did you expect?
I will say that there's been a really interesting twist specifically to the microeconomy here in Bullitt County, Kentucky. We've got UPS Worldport right just north of me. It's a 15-minute drive from the center of Bullitt County. It's the world's largest shipping facility. So, like if you order something on Amazon or, pretty much anywhere on the internet, it's going to come through Louisville, right? And the area of Bullitt County has been so sold out, like we've lost our agrarian roots to a large extent, but now we're just full of warehouses. You can get a $24, $25 an hour job straight out of high school here in Bullitt County now.
No kidding.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've got more than
Yeah, but
100%.
tech,
Like if you order something from Amazon, some
but
high school kid from Bullitt County, Kentucky, probably put that on a conveyor belt at one point or another. Uh, Swallowed my tongue there. If I die on the podcast, that's why.
yeah, it'll be all right. I've done worse on podcasts. I promise you. That's what. No fear of failure anymore. It's fine. We just have fun with it. I don't even care. Like you,
Yeah.
I'll doesn't matter. No
But
worries.
yeah, I mean, wages are up, but I guess that's, but at the same time, it's like you've lost your dignity. You got to wear a mask, you got to abide by all of these draconian laws, all of these rules, and what is, like, you're not learning a skill, you're not learning something that you can take for 10 years from now. This industry is new. Um, if you're going to work for some warehouse, your best bet is to get on it. Get on doing maintenance because machines always break. No matter how much they automate, they're still going to break.
Yeah.
Um,
Still need
even
people
if
to
they make
fix them.
a machine fixing machine, you got to fix the machine that fixes the machines, right?
Right.
But what happened to farming? What happened to like local supply chains, things like that? Like larger supply chains become more and more vulnerable, and I think that is part of the tragedy of selling out your local resources in favor of paving things off. Not to mention the change in like floodplain. I mean, yeah, I'll save you guys the environmental spiel, but
Yeah, we'll save that for another show. No question. We're already over time, so but I love where you're going into because that's actually a big deal for Eskimo Libertarian and I is that environmental tyranny. Uh, I'm not going to promote our show on your interview, but it's just
do
that
why not, right? It doesn't detriment me. It's
no, I know. I'm just saying. I'm telling you that you're touching a nerve there that we could build an entire show around, like not just a show, like a series.
Mhm.
like we could weeks. We could go into what you're talking about right now. That's a very, very sensitive subject for Eskimo and I don't know that sensitive is the right word, but you understand what I'm saying. And
Yeah,
so Matt Canoli says, "Great show, guys." Let's get into some comments real quick, if you don't mind, if we can
sure,
find.
happy to.
We won't stick out too far here. We'll get into Clubhouse in a few minutes because we keep them this short. I know everybody know, or if unless you're new here, we keep them kind of short because a lot of people can't watch them live. And so, in order for somebody to want to click on it and say, you know, we really want to hear what Randall Daniel has to say, we want his voice out there. We got to keep it under an hour. And so, Sarah Foster always with some gold. The states are supposed to decide themselves. The federal government is supposed to just be pretty much for communication between all the states and helping keep stuff smooth. It's grown and no one has kept it pruned back. And I think a huge eye opener, or at least I hope it is that it ain't, the Republicans aren't doing it either, y'all. You're talking about Kentucky, Kentucky, right in the middle of the state. And now I view Kentucky as purple. Am I wrong?
Well, we have a 75% supermajority in the House and more than that in our state Senate. And they're purple as can be because when they had a lawsuit come up that said that the governor had proven, it had been proven that he had violated the Constitution, they chose not to impeach. So, like, what's red, what's blue, it's all the same to me. But, don't take my word for it. My eyes are going out. Trust your own eyes. Take a look for yourself.
That's nice. Great line. I love that. Reminds me of 1984. I'll butcher the quote, but I'll give it a shot anyway. Something along the lines of, you know, the party told you not to believe what you saw with your eyes and heard with your ears. Just believe them, basically.
Yeah.
And that was their final and greatest command. And so I love that quote. Again, it's obviously going to be very special to me because I have an entire family that's dealing with it. But that's a great line. Our vision needs to remain the same: minimal government, maybe no government for a lot of y'all, but at the very least, I should have said a lot of us. At
Yeah.
the very least, let's start chipping away at these laws. And you are trailblazing. I use that word a lot. It's very applicable. I'm going to keep using it. So, Randall, let's jump off. That way we can jump into Clubhouse. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, cool with me. You might have to walk me through it a little bit.
No,
Like I
you guys,
said,
you're on your
you're
own.
my first follow on Clubhouse.
Y'all heard that? I finally made it. Forget Muddy Waters and Spike. I made it.
Hey, yeah, Spike follows me. I didn't even know it, but
What you
Spike
say?
follows me on Clubhouse, and you're my first follow. Sorry, Spike. You can be number 2.
I made it. I made it. Libertarian Redhead, Spike Cohen, Caitlin Cloven, Donald Rainwater, Larry Sharp. Nope. I was Randall Daniel's first follow. I have made it. Spike takes second place. Anyway, that dude, awesome interview. I don't like calling them interviews. I like calling them shows because to me, you and I are just having fun. Like we talked about, that's the number one priority. You and I have fun, and then the information just comes out, and wow, you are packed with information. We will definitely have to follow up with you. Maybe we'll do some sort of special show with you, agricultural wise, if that
Yeah,
sounds good to
anytime.
you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I love farming. It's my
Okay.
roots.
I think we're going to go in that direction if that's okay with you, because that's I love that topic, and I just don't think it's covered enough, and it's
Yeah.
so important. Anyway, all right, let's stop.
Clubhouse.
To Clubhouse. I'll see you in a bit.
See you there. Bye.
Awesome. Just an incredible time. Well, so again, there's so much information we can only pack into 40, 45 minutes, an hour. We're at 52 minutes now. I try to keep these things at 40 to 45 minutes. That way, when somebody random who maybe isn't a libertarian comes across the podcast, which you can catch Facebook, YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, pretty much anywhere you can catch your podcast. If they aren't libertarian and they say, "Oh, I really like what this Randall guy's saying," even though he's from Kentucky, he's wearing a camo hat and he's got long hair and a very, very thick glare on his glasses. I love what he's saying, and I love his country Kentucky accent. I want them to click on it. That's why we keep them and condense them the way we do. So www.cajunlibertarian.com. Buy a shirt or something. I don't know. I hate talking about it. Y'all know I do. But the shirts are really cool. So buy that stuff, donate to the GoFundMe. I know you're tired of hearing it. We got like 2 or 3 weeks left of this. We've got to get everybody there. Maybe we can even get Randall there. That would be awesome. Hopefully I'll show up, seeing as how I'm emceeing the entire thing. I plan to be there. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm just kidding. I will be there. Absolutely. I bet Brian is losing his mind right now. What do you mean you're not? You don't know. No, I'll be there. It'll be fun. It'll be great. Help me get as much as we can to Mercy House Teen Challenge in Jackson, Mississippi. I love y'all very much. I will see you in Clubhouse. Other than that, I guess I'll talk to you Sunday, the Cajun and Eskimo show. Very much not the same Cajun time and absolutely not the same Cajun channel. The next time you see me, it will be the Cajun and Eskimo show from Igloos to Bayous on Muddied Waters Media. I love y'all very, very much. I absolutely mean that when I say it. Thank you for electing me to this platform. I told Matt Wright that yesterday. I really feel like you put me here. You've elected me here, and I do not take this lightly. Thank you. I'm out.